Hi everyone, Lewis here, back again. I've got some really good lighting going on today. I'm really happy with that. Quite a bit of shadow coming off of it, but that's okay. It's just finished the old spooky season, and that's all good. Yeah, I watched last night. Last night was Halloween. It is now November 1st. I watched Terrifier 2, which is a very notorious film at the moment. I was aware of the first film Terrifier, and there's been previous versions featuring the character Art the Clown with from the same director. Uh, it was one of those things that was always on my peripheral. And when I've heard a lot about how successful Terrifier 2 has been for an indie horror film, I thought, you know what, I'll check that out. So it's just come out for rental and streaming over here in the UK. So I rented it on Halloween night, and I got stuck in, so to speak. Uh, but I watched the first one on Sunday, and I quite liked it. I appreciate what it was, and I think I've seen other people say, and I would agree that it almost seemed like a proof of concept for this one. Like, this is the movie they really wanted to make, and the first one was the smaller one. I think the first one was like maybe like a 50 grand budget, I think, and this one was 250. I could be wrong on that, I don't know, but it's made like 7.5 million, I think, so it's doing really well. So I think this is really the big project they've been building towards. Again, I don't know, that's just what I've kind of seen and heard and what I take from it. But yeah, I like the first one reasonably enough. It's pretty gruesome. It was very much one of those things that Art the Clown is really cool. Like, he's not, he's a horrible man, but he's a cool character. He's, again, no spoilers for probably either movie anyway if you haven't seen them. But yeah, he's as creepy clown's been done quite a lot in horror and most fiction and that kind of thing. And but yeah, he's unique in his own way. Like, he doesn't talk. He has a pretty unique and pretty scary look. And yeah, he's pretty horrible. And yeah, and the so he stands out in the film. He's the main driving force, and the practical effects are pretty cool. Like in the first one, like, I love anything like that. Even if it looks like it's not the highest budget film, then I still like that. I like that kind of charm to it. There's just something, people have made this work the best they can, and I like that. I think I'd always rather see practical effects than any kind of, like, CGI effect. Always, that's just what I like. And I think a lot of horror fans are probably the same. So I liked it. The first one was about an hour and 20 minutes, and my only issue with it was it's pretty it's pretty simplistic. It's just about people getting killed in horrific ways, and there's not much else going on. And I liked the actors in it, and I could be wrong on that. That's just the way I saw it, and it seemed a bit kind of mean spirited in a way. There was no, like, uplifting resolution or anything. Not saying that every film has to have that, but you know what I mean. There wasn't, like, kind of the final girl as you kind of get in horror films and stuff like that, but which is fine. Again, not every film has to have that, but I kind of thought, right, if the second one is just going to be, it's 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is long for a horror film and for a slasher film, and I thought, if that's just going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes of just people getting horribly killed, and no real kind of narrative kind of thing, I didn't know how I would feel about it. But how did I feel about it? Yeah, pretty good. Quite liked it. Yes, I watched it on Halloween night, which is appropriate because that's when it's set. Um, I just thought, I'll check it out. It was not too much to rent, so that was cool. Um, and yeah, it's one of the best things I can say is at no point did I feel, like I wanted this to wrap up. I don't know what it'd be like seeing it in the cinema. Maybe because I was watching it at home, it was a bit more comfortable for a longer film because I could pause it every now and then. Yeah, so obviously in the cinemas they've been saying people have been fainting and throwing up and stuff like that, and that's probably a bit of hyperbole, a bit of promotional business, but I can see this movie being too much for some people, but for me, like, my threshold for, like, gore and stuff is pretty high, so, like, that's fine with me. But I can imagine if people go in expecting, like, a mainstream horror movie that's just a bit violent, like, say, like, something like Smile, for example, which is a good movie. I like that movie, but the violence only goes to a certain level, and this goes much further. It's just as a recent example, even like in, the most recent Halloween movie and that, like, they're violent and they're gory, but this is a level above that you could probably only really get away with in, like, an indie film. Like, I don't think you could put this through, like, a big, like, Universal Pictures probably wouldn't put this movie out because of the level of violence in it. Just an example. So for me personally, I thought it was alright. I was kind of prepared for it, having just watched the first one and having heard a lot about it and that kind of thing. So, but it wasn't just that. Like I say, for the whole runtime wasn't just people being murdered horribly, which was good. That was a good relief. Don't get me wrong, there's some pretty crazy stuff in this, but nothing I would say is. I wasn't watching it going, oh, that's just too far. And there's no point I had to kind of go, oh, look away from the screen or anything. It's not a Lars von Trier movie, so it's but yeah. So I really liked the story. I thought there was enough of a story in there, and it was. I think the strength of it was I really liked the main girl in it and her brother, and a few of the other characters as well. I thought all the actors in it were really good. I thought they all did a good enough job of making me actually care about the characters, especially the main two characters. I was actually like, I really, having watched the first movie, I was like, I really hope nothing bad happens to these characters, which is good. Like, that means I care about them. It means they've done their job, and the actors, and and the storytelling. But yeah, it's one of those things where I think with horror, and especially with slashers, I think you have different kinds of characters where there's some that you want to see die because they're dickheads or whatever, and they just get murdered, and you go, yeah, you had that coming. Or there's ones that you kind of go, I really hope those people don't die because I really like them. And this definitely had more of the latter. Like, I kind of went, some of these characters are a bit kind of, not the best people, but none of them deserve to die in the way they do horribly in this kind of thing. Well, some of them anyway. Again, no spoilers. But yeah, I say the main characters, watching them and their little story, I kind of was like, I really hope nothing bad happens to these characters. I was invested, and I say that kept me going through the runtime as well. It kept my focus on it, kind of thing. But yeah, like I said, I think this was the one they wanted to make. There's a lot more creativity and kind of dramatic kind of flair and sort of a bit more filmmaking, a bit more style to it in this one, which I enjoyed and which I appreciated. So, but yeah, as I say, I think the real strength of it for me was I was invested in the story and the characters, and it wasn't just like torture porn. It wasn't just like a Saw movie where it's just people getting killed in horrible ways. Not that the Saw movies don't have stories, but you know what I mean. It wasn't just that. And I think the real strength of it as well is Art the Clown. I think he's great. Like, I can't remember the actor who plays him, but the way he manages to portray him without being actually speaking at all, and just like he's suitably creepy in his actions and his movements, and like he's kind of like a mime kind of thing, and like I thought he was really good. Like I say, I really like the visual effects, even the ones that don't look like 100% kind of thing. That still adds to it. I think there's a bit of a charm to it. I think, let's say, if you're an indie horror fan, I think you'll probably like this. And I mean, if you are, you've probably seen it already. But and you just want to see somebody else's opinion, which is cool. I think if you like the kind of the splatter gore and that kind of thing, then this is a great example of that. I think if you're expecting a bit more of a mainstream horror movie, because I know, I don't think it got a theatrical release over here. I highly doubt it, unless it was very limited. But I can see people in America going to see, let's go see this new horror movie, and then just kind of going, okay, this is a bit much. So I can see why people would walk out. So yes, if you're looking for kind of a mainstream slasher, then I think this is a bit further past that, and probably a bit much for some people. If you're squeamish, then I'd probably give this a miss if I was you. But yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was cool. It'd be interesting to see what they do next. I think the director, Damien Leone, I think his name is. I think it'd be interesting to see if one of the big studios comes knocking and gives him like a big, franchise horror movie to do, or maybe a DC movie or something. That seems to be the thing they do now with horror directors. So, or if he'll carry on doing his own thing, which cool either way, whatever he wants to do. But yeah, I thought this was cool. I can see what all the hype is about and all the buzz, and yeah, more successful indie horrors, please. But yeah, thanks for watching. Leave a like. Let me know your thoughts, unless they're mean, in which case just don't. You could do something else with your life. But yeah, thanks very much.